Good evening. Now, I'm going to say this more than once tonight, and I don't get to say this very often, but Rangers today scored 6. They scored 6. So it is a Saturday. It is 7 o'clock, and we are here to talk about an absolute thumping Rangers win today. Again, something else we don't get to say that often. I am joined tonight by Alan down the bottom there. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing good, thanks, Ian. Fresh off a very enjoyable trip to Hampden.
Something else you don't get to say often.
Yeah, something you definitely don't take for granted, but, it was a good day. And the sun came out after the game, so didn't even need to get my hair wet, get back to the car.
It's always a good thing, isn't it? It takes forever to get your hair dried, doesn't it? And on the top of the corner, who I'm assuming wasn't at Hampden today, otherwise he's made a really quick return home and his fake tan hasn't washed off in the rain, is Ian. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing really well, Ian. Nice to see you both. Nice to see you, Alan. It was what a difference a positive result can make to your weekend. It was just nice to see that today. And 6 goals, as you say, unbelievable.
So when today came, I was like, right, just get in, get the job done. Professional performance, 2 or 3-0, and I'll be all right. Was not expecting anything like what was going to happen today, particularly in the first half, the first sort of quarter of the first half, if you like.
Exactly. It's not just the goals; it was the performance. The performance was good.
There's never too many Ians, Aldo. There's never too many, especially when they're spelt right. So it was just get into it. Let's lurch right into it because we've got a lot to get through for a change. We're all on the positive side, most of it anyway. There's one tiny little bit of negative which we'll just cover straight away, and then we'll bang on. You'll even forget about the fact that there was negative stuff even involved. So the start of the game, Alan, there was a lot of huffing and puffing from Rangers. There was a few good moves, a bit of interchanging and all the rest of it, but no real fluid chances that you could speak of. The first real chance actually came from the opposition, who on the breakaway managed to get down. I think it was Hale, managed to get a cracking shot off and an equally cracking save by Butland, who managed to somehow put it straight up in the air and then double down to get it away. And it was just County just letting us know that if we don't settle down and do this professionally, they are capable of hitting us on the break.
That was something you were always a wee bit worried about with this Rangers team. It will shoot herself in the foot and gift opportunities. But like you say, it was a decent start, without any real chances being created. I thought we were possibly a bit too pedestrian in pace. I think we definitely need to add a wee bit of tempo to the team. But, it was decent. Maybe it wasn't quite clicking, but you could see that the players were up for it. The players had a lot of energy. They were up for it. They were at it, and he thought if we just keep working hard, the game will come to him. So I was quite happy with how we started. It would have been nice to get an earlier goal, but I think possibly giving Ross County that chance to saw the double save for Jack Butland probably woke us up a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely did wake us up a little bit. And then with our first actual effort on target, as far as I can remember, because I did double check to make sure, we actually took the lead, Ian. And it was Tom Lawrence done some great work, breaks the lines, gets the ball to Dessers, who just no messing about from Dessers this time, just a touch to take it away from the defender and then bang into the corner.
Yeah, that was nice. But as you guys both touched on there, we started the game and we saw that chance where Tav got into the box on his wrong side, really, and he essentially everybody's screaming at him to hit the shot with his left foot, but he didn't. He scuffed it with his right, which led to Ross County punting the ball up and Butland having to make that save from Hale. And
that's just picking on Tav for picking on Tav's sake. I'm not having that.
That's it. No, but listen, after that, we certainly jumped into action. Do you know what I mean? And it's been a long time since I've seen Rangers look as comfortable as they did for the 90 minutes. So outside of that little start, that wasn't great. We were really comfortable for the majority of the match. And it was interesting for me. The biggest stat today that I took away from that was not the 75% possession we had and not the 17 shots we had had at goal. It was the 9 shots we had on target and scoring 6. That's the big difference. Do you know what I mean? Because how many times have we seen 20-odd shots on target and we scored the odd goal? Well, today we converted 6 of the 9 that were on target, and that's a huge difference. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just made a great difference. But going back to Dessa's first goal as you work your way through this match, Ian, yeah, it was a great bit of skill from Tom Lawrence that resulted in a little slide rule pass through to Dessers. Took it on his right, made the angle with his right foot, then slotted that away with his left. Great finish, absolutely brilliant finish. And it was none of this. We've seen Dessers kind of scuff them a little bit, but it was interesting to hear the manager's comments about Dessers after the game and how his running's better. He's getting a lot fitter, and he's seeing a very different Cyril Dessers. But yeah, that first goal, if you want me to elaborate on that, was a great move involving Tom Lawrence and a fantastic finish from Dessers as well. Impressed, but Dessers is just carrying on the form that he started the season in, So there's no complaints from me about Dessers. In actual fact, as much as I was his biggest critic last year, I've been his biggest fan this year. He's done extremely well, and long may he keep it up.
You are his biggest fan this year, and I believe you were just waiting for his aftershave line to be released in time for Christmas. Robert can get his dad some aftershave for Christmas that way then. Don't worry, we'll go back to talk about the players because I want to talk about certain players in the team today anyway. I just want to, because we don't often get 6 goals in the game, I want to talk about the game more than I want to talk about individual performances because I think today's overall team play was superb. There's still bits and bobs that you can see clearly need work on. It's not the finished article. I'm not getting carried away that this is the moment where Rangers steamroll everybody and don't drop another point between now and the end of the season. There's still work to be done. But it was pleasing today to actually see a game that was good from start to finish as opposed to 20 minutes in the first half and then a fairly decent second half or vice versa. So moving on then, Alan, 2 minutes after that, the roles were reversed where Dessers did some good work and put Lawrence in. And somehow, when it looked easier to actually put the chance away, Lawrence manages to get it past the keeper, but hit the post and it go out for a goal kick. But again, still good movement. And Lawrence doing that number 10 role and arriving a bit later so that Dessers can get him in. That actually worked today. It's something we haven't seen a great deal of from Lawrence.
Definitely. Touching on the first goal, it was brilliant play, and I think if we watch that goal back on the highlights, it'll get better every time we watch it. The ball, I don't remember who played the ball into Lawrence. It was brilliant on his part of returning and the pass, perfect way to pass. Dessers, you've got to credit him, making sure he stayed onside because Dessers has quite often been caught offside, so it's only fair to praise him when he makes sure he times his run well. And the finish, that was a finish, a striker. It's high in confidence and on good form. He done some brilliant work moving it into a channel and seeing the run of Tom Lawrence, who, 10 times out of 10 you'd expect Tom Lawrence to finish at, and Tom Lawrence would have been more disappointed and annoyed that he missed that than anybody else inside the ground. But it's really important that we've seen far more link-up today by Tom Lawrence and Cyril Dessers because they're clearly the first choice right now, and we've got to need far, far more of that. And we're a much more dangerous team when we've got a 10 and a striker whose link-up is actually working and they're understanding each other better. They're making the runs off each other, they're finding each other, and they're supporting each other so well.
Do you think, Alan, that the manager's now got a decision to make about who starts against Celtic? Is it Lawrence or Diamande?
No, but I think Diamande comes in and Sterling either drops back or drops out. Yeah. I don't think that Sterling done anything particular to grab his chance in the midfield before he moved to the back. I don't think he did anything wrong by any means, but I think Diamande plays next to Barn next week and Tom Lawrence plays behind Dessers.
Going through the notes that I've made, 3 names repeat themselves. One, we've already talked about in Dessers. Another one is the guy that played the ball through to Dessers to make that chance for Lawrence, which was Czerny. And the other name that crops up quite a lot is Rabbi Matondo. And he's the next one to get a chance. I think, again, it's a ball through to Dessers, who rolls the defender. A kamikaze tackle, which was outside the box, which carried on into the box. Referee, sensibly, because the ball's at Matondo's feet inside the box and it looks like he's got space, plays on. And Rabbi doing Rabbi things. Rabble does one or two things. He's either absolutely spectacular with it, or he misses the chance. And in this case, he did a little bit of both. It was a decent turn and wiggle, and gets a decent shot off, and it hits the bar, flies over. But it's just showing you that Dessa's all-round game seems to have changed since last season. He's doing a damn sight more now than he was last year in holding the ball up, bringing others into play, being able to run with it, everything. So he was at the forefront of pretty much everything, particularly in that first half that we did, Ian. And Matondo started to come into the game at this point as well.
Absolutely. I mean, just to finish off on Dessers there, as you're right, we've certainly given him a lot of plaudits today that he absolutely deserves. But it's not about just his goals. As you said, his overall play was fantastic. And assisting goals and holding up, doing the hard graft that centre forwards have to do. You know, what I will say though is I was surprised how high a line Ross County's defence played, which played right into Rabble Matondo's, and even Dessers was out sprinting the centre halves at times, which again leads in very well to what the manager was saying in the post-match press conference, saying about how Dessers is getting a wee bit quicker and his legs are working better, and all the team are starting to understand the roles in the team a wee bit more. But Ross County certainly made it easy for us by having the two centre-backs holding quite a high line, which then we all know if you give Rabble Matondo space in front of him, that's when he's absolutely going to punish you. And that's exactly what happened in both of his goals and all of his assists today. He got a bit of space in front of him and punished Ross County. But listen, fair play to Ross County for coming and kind of playing like that, because how many times do we see Rangers come up against teams like that and it's literally park the bus stuff? I don't think Ross County parked the bus today, as much as they weren't great. And I really kind of fear for them now in that league, now that I've seen that. I know they were beaten by Spartans. What was it, 1-0 the other night? I think it was they lost. But I think they may find themselves in a bit of trouble in this league. But fair play to them for not coming and parking the bus. But there's a good advert for parking the bus when you come and play Rangers or Celtic, to be honest. You know what I mean? So it's up to us. What's that?
Try and play against us, and we're on a day like we are today. That's why teams park the bus. That's why they try to do it against us, and they do it against Celtic. They try to park the bus.
Exactly. So I mean,
did either. I don't think they particularly they played a high line without actually coming at us and offering anything going forward. So they were pretty much caught in no man's land with sort of no planning.
I don't understand that high line that they played, especially when we had Cherny and Matondo on. You know what I mean? But listen, who cares? It was all about us today. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, Christ, I think the team's confidence alone, right from the manager through to the subs on the bench, they'll hugely benefit that going into an Old Firm game.
I will put Ross County's week into some perspective for us, though. Obviously, they lost to Spartans at the weekend previous. They've lost to us 6-0 today. Midweek, they played in the Highland Cup thing that they do up there. No disrespect to any Ross County people that are watching, or anyone from the Highlands who get involved in that competition. And they had 9 first-team players in their starting 11 against Borough Rangers and lost 3-2. So they've had a hell of a week of Ross County, and I'm pretty sure they're glad to see the back of it. Then we move on again. This one, I think would have been given offside had it gone into the back of the net, judging by. But it was difficult to tell at the time. I've only got Tom, commentator on RTV, to go by, so it's not the best of authorities. But Cherny lofts the ball forward. Matondo looks like he's timed his run well from what I saw. Was judged to be offside. Gets his header away, but it just puts it the wrong side of the post. And Matondo's getting in those dangerous areas, showing he's not just got feet for the job as well, that you can actually head the ball. And then not long after that, we get our first corner of the day, and we did something different. We didn't just whap it in the box and hope for the best. We actually worked on a corner routine, played a short corner and pulled it in, and John Suter manages to get a header on target from a corner. And as rare as 6-0 wins are for us, any chances on target from a corner are equally rare. It did come at a cost, though, but we'll get to that in a minute.
It did come at a cost, but it's something it really points to a lack of ability to attack the ball in the box, because a lot of the corners crosses we put into the box are actually very, very good. if you watch the games, the corners we put in, if you take him short and then put the ball in the box, very, very good deliveries, but we just seem really bad at attacking balls for corners. Unless it's like Connor Goldson in Lisbon attacking his own goal, but that's a different story. But it's really encouraging if you're actually putting more work into that, because we've got big enough guys in that team that we should be a threat for set pieces. You know, we're loads and loads of goals on the table if we can't score from set pieces. And you don't expect to go and score every week for a corner. You don't expect to be scoring 2 or 3 a week from corners and free kicks, but we really should be working a goalkeeper against whoever we're playing from set pieces. You know, whether it's John Super, whether it's Lauren Balogun, whether it's Robin Proper when he comes back in. Dale Mandy's must be over 6 foot. You know, these guys have to be posing a threat in the air. Even if it's not to get the header on goal, it's keeping it in, winning the second balls. Yeah. But we're not even making it difficult for defenders to clear the balls. But whatever happened in that first corner, you know, we've lost Liam Balogun, which I was at the opposite end of the ground. Don't know, was it possibly a shoulder injury? You know,
actually, what happened, Alan, was the defender, it wasn't so much his fall as the defender falling on top of him. And then what happened was he then when our physio came on, he then put his arm up to the physio and said it's right in here, in between, like his kind of 3rd and 4th vertebrae at the back of his neck type thing. So he literally, you can actually see him feel it out to the physio as to where the injury was. I've not heard, and actually I didn't think I heard the manager talk about, I don't know if anyone in the comments knows about.
No, he never mentioned it in his press conference.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah.
I know we'll get on to the press conference after a game, but that would lead me to think it's probably not too bad, and it's maybe just a stinger, and he should hopefully be fit next week. I
think maybe the manager thought, well, I'm not going to take a risk with him, I'll just bring him off, you know. Yeah. So it makes sense. It
just seems to be something about that time at Hampden. That's 2 weeks in a trot.
Listen, Ian, it wouldn't be a Rangers game if someone didn't get injured. You know what I mean?
Very true, but it's the same. It was exactly the same time the week before. Yeah. But from that, we have another corner because obviously Laidlaw tips that over the bar. We have that long layoff with that, and Ross County catches a little bit cold with a quick break. Again, they get upfield. Another shot on target. I think it was Hale again who manages to get through. But eventually it was a fairly simple save for it
was a shot from Denham, Ian.
Denham, that's him. I've even written that down, and I've still said Hale. But he gets through, and it's there. And Denham he literally runs half the length of Hampden without anybody attempting to close him down. Yefty does well because he doesn't try to engage and stays with his man, so he's doing his job. So obviously, if he comes off, he breaks through. He's probably got a better run in, and eventually a nice, comfortable save from Butland, Ian. And it just shows you that still at that point, if we switch off, they did have what it takes to actually break through and damage us.
Oh, listen, the manager said at his press conference, he says, look, in the same token, don't get carried. This is a 6-0 win. Everybody understood the roles today. The people are starting to... What was interesting, he said, the people are starting to understand his instructions better, which is good. You know what I mean? Because I think Clement has that kind of school teachery persona about him, whereby it's kind of, you know, these are the clear instructions. And someone like Connor Barnes grabbed that with both hands and absolutely carries it out to the 9th degree. You know what I mean? So I think the rest of the team are now slowly falling into that on the evidence of today. You know what I mean? So I don't want to get carried away with that, you know what I mean, on the evidence today. But you're right to highlight Jack Butland. Very little and or nothing to do apart from make 2 good saves, you know. And those 2 good saves are vital for us, you know. So it's great that he keeps his wits about him in order to keep us, you know, keep us a clean sheet, essentially, you know. But I've got to say, going back to the manager's comments, he was very mindful of how the team are kind of coming together a wee bit more. He was really happier with everybody's attitude. And listen, you know, if this was a glimpse of things to come, and listen, we've got to, you know, put this into perspective, understand Ross County were not great today. In fact, they were terrible. But this kind of result gives them confidence in order to then make the players believe in themselves going forward.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can only beat what's in front of you.
Exactly.
Ross County were the team that were in front of us today, and we beat them. We beat them convincingly, which is not something you can actually say that Rangers teams do against Ross County on a regular basis.
No.
You only have to go back to last season when we thought we would beat them comfortably and see what happened. But we're not delving down into the realms of the dark side. We are going to keep on going with the positivity of today. From there, we had to then make that substitution with Balogun going off and Diomande coming on, and he's straight into it, is Dio. Not long left of the first half. Dio does what Dio does and wins that ball back, manages to get to the byline, cuts it back to Tav. Tav does what Tav does and puts a decent ball in, just begging for someone to attack it at the near post, which, again, we don't do all that often. And there's the unlikely hero of Rabble Matondo to pop it into the back of the net, Alan, to make it a more comfortable halftime team talk for Phil Clement than possibly it would have been had we gone in at 1-0.
Yes, as awkward to have it, I had to wait for the announcement as to who scored, because people just walking past me. The perils of having an aisle seat, scuppered my chances of actually seeing that goal. But you spoke earlier about the Matondo header that hit the post and it was flagged offside for, and then he's coming in and attacking the near post. So that's a really sort of big aspect. If we're going to play inverted wingers, which largely I'm not a fan of, I'd prefer the wingers going down the outside. But if you're going to have inverted wingers, we need to bring him inside. We need to have him supporting the striker and attacking the posts. But if you're putting balls in the box, like you say, we rarely attack the front post. We rarely make that attack, so we get first contact on it, and it's encouraging. We're starting to see a wee bit more of that. It's not always about winning the ball. It's making sure that the defenders can't win the ball and they don't get it clear, and we keep the ball alive. But Matondo's put a ton of work in today, and he's been rewarded with that goal. Like you said, Diomande's come on the park and just got straight involved, like he started the game. I've said before on the pods, we need to see more from Mohamed Diomande. We spent £4.5 million on him when we're on a fairly tight budget. So he's a big signing, no mistake about that. And he needs to be needs to be a main man in the middle of the park for us. And I thought he was excellent when he came on today. Well, like you said, Ian, Ross County weren't particularly good, and that's me probably being kind to him. They worked hard, they're diligent in their defending, but Diomande's come on and grabbed the game and done his best. He's hustled and harried and helped us win the ball high up the park. And again, it's something we don't do often enough, is win the ball back high up the park. He's kept it alive. Tav's played the ball in. Matondo attacks the post, and it makes a half-time team talk, like you say, Ian, far more straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. And going on the goal scorer there, it was a nice little ball from Tav. I've got to say, it was a kind of knee-high, thigh-high crossing that I've got to say it isn't easy to finish, by the way. But Matondo got behind it really well and put it away like a centre forward. To be fair, do you know what I mean? So his touch there and his finish was really good. And you've got to give Tav credit for the ball in. It was a good ball in. But listen, on Matondo, there's everything that we know the boy can do today. Yeah, give him space in front of him, and then you're thinking to yourself, why are we thinking of selling this guy? You know what I mean? But he isn't slow in reminding us when he then disappears for the next 5 or 6 games and maybe contributes relatively nothing. But when we see days like today, when he's got a bit of space in front of him, and listen, maybe because he knows he's in the shop window, he turned in a performance like that. It certainly would be a motivator for any player that's potentially on a transfer list and looking for a move. So if Blackburn are as genuine as they are in their interest, then they look at that today and they think, do you know what? Maybe I'll pay X for him now. Or maybe Clement thinks, well, Rabbi, why can't you give me that every week?
It was quite telling that the manager mentioned on transfers that there would be a busy week ahead and more so incomings than outgoings. And outgoings would be people that were not involved today, which kind of points to the fact that Rabbi Matondo will still be here next weekend.
Yeah.
And also, not forgetting on Matondo that Matondo is still relatively young in footballing terms at 23. I know because Fraser's the same age, isn't he? 23 now, around that age group. So Rabbie's already at the front team level. That's where Fraser wants to be. That's where Matondo is at the same age.
Martin last night identified, someone's seen something in Matondo along the way. Don't be a Welsh internationalist and get signed for 11 odd million quid for the name of the German team escapes me at the moment. But yeah. So you don't do that if you're. Don't be wrong, it has happened. Some right haddies have been signed for big money in the past, but obviously it's been identified. It's just how you get the best out of Rabble, And I think sometimes a lot of people are quite unfair on him to the point where he's a winger. He has a role to play. He's not a central midfielder, a corner Barntime or a Diamande that's going to dictate play. Rabble Matondo's got a role that he'll have right through his whole career. It's to get the ball, run at defenders, have a shot at goal and whip crosses in, So we've got to manage our expectations on Rabble Matondo. But to be fair, up until today, he's really shown us more of what we don't want to see as opposed to what we saw today, I think.
Yeah, and if anybody from Blackburn is watching, I would just like to say that £9 million, I think, is a fair price, to be honest. It's an absolute snip. We're giving them away at that price. Yeah. Giving them away. We get to half-time, that 2-0 up, and then just to put the context of that first half in, at half-time we had 8 shots with 3 on target, 2 of them goals, and 70% possession, whereas 70.3 if you want to get exact. And Ross County, the only 2 shots they had in that first half were both on target, and they'd only had the 29.7%. So there was room for improvement still in that from that first half, as good as it was. The team talk, like I said, was made easier. But when we came out in the second half, Alan, whatever the manager said, whether he was happy that we were winning, but unhappy with how it was going, or whatever he's gone on and done there, we dominated that second 45 from start to finish. I don't think Ross County really laid a glove on us. I think they had one close chance when I think we were 4 or 5-0 up, where they glanced ahead of past the post. But other than that, I don't remember them being a danger to us. And we just took control completely of that second half.
I think it was a wee bit like the end of the game against St Johnstone last week. After Ross McCausland scored, we really opened up a wee bit and played. And I'd said to somebody I was talking to at half time at the ground, I hope that second goal would see us come out and really play, and really open up a wee bit and express ourselves and play with confidence and play with freedom. And I think that's exactly what we saw in the second half. We did open up. You could tell there was a weight off the shoulders of players. We played with freedom. We expressed ourselves. And we've talked for a minute about Tav. He's been slated in all quarters through the early parts of the season, but he had more of an almost free role, which is strange for a fullback to have. But I've said on the earlier pods, one of the things I have seen in terms of us tactically this season is that once we cross the halfway line, the fullbacks are tucking inside. And that was especially prominent with Tav today. He was popping up almost on the inside left channel. He was getting into the box. He was linking up play. He was getting far, far more involved. And possibly we might see a bit more of the best of James Taverner if he's getting that freedom, especially with the work that John Sterling and Connor Barn are prepared to do and dropping in and dropping back. And the full team worked so hard, making sure that they covered when Tav was moving forward and stepping inside, and when Yefty was going forward down the left-hand side as well. So it was really good to see. We got a chance to actually see Rangers play some good football. We stepped up the tempo a wee bit and we were clinical, and it's what I want to see for a Rangers team that welcomes a Ross County or St Johnstone or somebody to Glasgow, a routine win and scoring goals. With the greatest of respect in the world, the Ross Counties, St Johnstone, St Mirren's of the world should be coming to Glasgow and getting scudded.
Yeah,
that's no disrespecting teams. That's respecting ourselves and going out and killing games off.
Exactly. That's it. Just on that, Alan. Yeah, just on that, you make a really good point there. And because we did that's the second the goal just before Matondo's goal at half time was which killed that game. That killed the game as a competition effect. We go in 2-0 and then we get a quick third goal. And at that point, you then get to open up your bench and say, right, guys, go and fill your boots and get your Frasers on, your McCausland's on, and Danilo on, which we'll get on to in a minute, ensuring. And then it made a big difference there, and it was killing off teams. That's the most important thing, and we did that today. We killed off the team relatively early in the game, and it made me remember what it was like to watch a strong Rangers team a few years ago, when you're kind of thinking, Christ, it's half an hour to go, and this is just a case of how many is it going to be, So it's been a while since we felt like that.
Definitely, and I think the biggest thing you could say about today was it was a routine win. 6-0. We didn't even batter Ross County. 17 shots on goal is all we had. And like you said, it's a brilliant start. We've had 9 on target and scored 6 goals. But who'd expect with a 6-0 win? We've absolutely peppered their goal, and we haven't. So there's clearly room to move forward and develop and improve. But it was just so good to go and have such a routine win where it was never in doubt. We looked comfortable right through the game, and we improved as the game went on. So, it's a very good day at the office, and it's been pleasing to say that this season.
Yeah. I think they picked up on that in the commentary as well, saying it was something like 2022, I think, since the last time we'd scored 6 goals in one game. So it's been a couple of years. I remember the Hamilton 8-0. I remember that one.
I was mentioning in the comments as the last time we scored 6 or more in the league. So,
like you said, it didn't take as long to get that 3-0 up. It was a good patient build up, and then Dessers gets it in. I'm still debating. I mean, I don't know if anyone's seen any clearer pictures. The RTV ones weren't great. The RTV ones, to me, I couldn't make my mind up whether it was a Dessers goal or an own goal.
You're giving that to a centre forward all day. It wasn't. It wasn't.
100%. It wasn't clear, and it was right in front of me at the ground. So I'm not fancy see any highlights, but you want Dessers to be getting.
It wasn't a debate on RTV at all. Wasn't even a debate.
Never is though.
Yeah, but the only one that was a debate was the Matondo second goal.
That's a Matondo goal because it was on target. He just deflected into the net. But
so
Tom commentator, it wouldn't matter if one of the Ross County players took the ball off of Dessers and fired it into the top corner himself. He would still say it was a Dessers goal.
Yeah, all day. Both goals were both the players' goals. No own goals involved at all. No.
The one thing you cannot accuse Tom, the commentator, of being is unbiased. He is probably one of the most biased commentators you're ever likely to hear in your life. Then we had a nice moment of a counter-attack from our own box to make it 4-0. It took me by surprise. I mean, like I said at the start, I was thinking 2-3-0, get the job done, get out of there. Let's concentrate on next week, which we're not really going to talk about this week because we've got a whole week of programming coming up where we're going to be talking about that. So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because a 6-0 win, we make some outlandish claims on here, which, as some of us on here already know, clips do happen and then come back to bite us in the backside. But we picked that ball up. Yefte wins it on our byline. I mean, again, this is where Tom, the commentator, comes in. He says that it looks like it's gone for a goal kick, but the referee allowed us to play on. That doesn't help us. He moves it. He gets that ball forward, knocks it into Dessers again, rolls the defender, plays the ball out again to Matondo. And at this point, I'm screaming at Matondo just to knock it past him and run because you're going to destroy him with your pace. I'm like, run. He holds it and holds it and holds it. Sees Lawrence, plays Lawrence in, and Lawrence does in the second half what he couldn't do in the first half and pops it into the corner in. And it was a brilliant goal.
It was my pick of the bunch of the 6 goals. That was my favourite goal because it was worked literally from our own goal line all the way through. And that was the pick of the bunch. And what I particularly liked about it is we saw the bits that Dessers wasn't really doing last year. You know what I mean? So he held up the ball, first of all, had a couple of big centre-halves on his back, and then squared off a cracking ball to Matondo. And you're right, I was the same. I thought Matondo was going to kind of give him it back, as Dessers was kind of running, you know. But I've got to say the ball in for Lawrence was a finish to what was a very neat and tidy move, you know. And I think it was again County get caught with a bit of a high line again, so we had lots of space in front of us, you know. But then our attack did result from our own goal line essentially, you know. But I've got to say, for me that was the pick of the bunch, and I've got to say I enjoyed that goal the most. And that's the fourth goal when you're confident and your team's starting to, you know, play well together, knit better together. They know the game's finished as a contest, and that's the kind of goal you would, you know, expect to see in a training ground that's now converted into a competitive match because the team were playing with confidence at that point, Ian.
Yeah, the beginning. I mean, I think I made a comment on someone else's stuff earlier on. I will, you know, I'm not going to mention another pod while we're doing a pod, but we all listen to different things, saying that it's a work in progress. We know that, and we've been told that we're not going to see the best of this team till October, November, but we are starting to see signs of things beginning to knit together. There's relationships on the park. I think Tav and Czerny are building up quite a decent relationship. Looking at the other side on the left-hand side, Yefte and Matondo seem to be working quite well together as well. So that's another positive. There's lots of positives, little tiny positives all over the pitch at the minute.
Definitely, and we keep mentioning Matondo, Lawrence and Dessers. They link up play especially. They were involved in everything. Good going forward. And not to leave Czerny, you know, who was working away and always a pest and always a danger on the right-hand side. But, you know, for pretty much all the goals while we were on the park, you know, they came through Matondo, Lawrence and Dessers. And I've said before, and I said all last season and group chats, you know, it's not just about Dessers being poor at laying the ball off. You know, it's up to his teammates to understand his game. He wants to lay the ball off. And players are now getting close to him. Players are now getting into a position where they can be on the end of a Dessers layoff because that's how he wants to play. That's his natural game, is knocking the ball on and flicking it on. And we get Matondo and Lawrence particularly closer to him. We're actually seeing Dessers bringing them into play as opposed to him being too far away and he just lays the ball off to a defender.
It was interesting, Alan, to hear the manager's comments on that. He was actually talking about Dessers. Yeah,
I've got that down, but you'd obviously stole my thunder on that, Ian.
Yeah. But so it was.
It's clearly something that's been coached, and I've been saying recently on the pods, I want to see more examples of coaching players and improving players, and it was quite sort of pleasing for me to hear the manager speak in his post-match press conference about how players are responding to instruction and what he's wanting to bring out of him, you know, and we're seeing that more and more. He singled out Dessers in particular for the sort of praise and adapting to the instruction, and it was good and it helped us go forward. A wee thing maybe not everybody will have noticed, but the balls out to Tavo on the right wing, you know, they were getting played in front of him. You know, he was able to actually step on him. Yeah. So many passes out to Tav, he's had to stop it from going out. You know, he's had to turn back to get the ball. He was able to just run onto the ball, go down the wing, and that was helping us get forward a lot more effectively, a lot quicker. And that's basic stuff, you know, play the ball in front of somebody to run onto, you know, and it helps us get forward so much more. And it just helped the play be far more fluent today. And it's really important and really encouraging to see the relationships actually start to build and develop on the park.
And to quote the manager, Alan, I thought you were actually going to pick that up there. His exact words on Dessers were, "I wish I met this boy when he was younger." You know, he actually said, you know, I mean, I really wish I'd met this guy when he was younger, because he's found his relationship with him now that he's got fitter. He's really understanding Clement's instructions really well, and he's carrying them out to the letter as the player also gets fitter. And as much as Dessers is 29 now, he still thinks there's a bit of evolution within him at his ripe old age of 29, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and then we made some more subs. Dowell and Danilo. You had to bring those two on together, didn't it? That makes it difficult to say. For Lawrence and Dessers, who both had decent games. We've been very critical of Lawrence a lot this season, but I thought he had a decent game today. He was in and out, but overall a decent game for me. And then not long after, I mean, I have made a note. I won't tell you exactly what it says, but you guys already know because I told you before we came on. But we scored a 5th goal, which I was not expecting. And the 5th goal was my last note because I didn't expect us to make any more goals after that. But again, that name again coming up in the second half. Yefte starts it all with a crossfield pass, which goes all the way out to Czerny, who drives at the defender. And the defender at this point, because Czerny's been going inside and outside pretty much all game, he's got no clue what Czerny wants to do at this point. Who then drives in, quick trick, pulls the ball back through the box, which lands to Matondo. Matondo makes it 5 despite the efforts of the right. I think it was Brown on the line trying to divert it past. We get 5. Matondo gets 2. Matondo's now on a hat trick. And I couldn't be happy for Matondo because he too has come in for a fair amount of stick in the last 12 to 18 months. He's coming for a lot of stick. So it was great to see him get a double and an assist and 2 goals in one game for him. Superb.
Yeah, it very much is. And do you know what, Ian? What I liked about Matondo's goals, they were very un-Matondo-like goals, if you know what I mean. So they were kind of balls that you'd see a typical number 9 finish on, you know. And I liked it, the freedom. I mean, don't be wrong. At that point, when you know the game's won, your confidence is high, and you're running into areas and taking little risks that you ordinarily wouldn't. But I've got to say, Matondo's 2nd goal and our 5th goal was the type of goal, a very old-fashioned goal whereby your winger cuts inside, whipped a ball that was not at a great height and going really fast, you've got to say. So Matondo had to get some real kind of leverage on that to finish, you know, hits off the defender and goes in. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant. I've got to say, you know, you mentioned the substitutions there as well. I think when Danilo came on, he again had a really good first effort that was saved really well by the keeper, albeit he kind of had all day to see it coming. And then the goal he got in the end was somewhat gifted to him by the fact that the defender scudded it off the other defender, and it fell nicely for Danilo to just kind of slot it away. So, as Alan said, it was definitely a good day at the office. Everything fell for us in the right way. We did our conversion rates really well. 9 shots a goal, 6 of them go in. Christ. Could you imagine last season if we had more returns on our shots on goal like that? Where would we have finished?
I would just like to say, Alan, that to this guy over here next to me, he doesn't have to take away what you've got to talk about. I was going to get on to
you were going too slow, Ian. I had to move it on. You were going too slow.
Too slow. We haven't finished talking about the game yet, and I still got
45 minutes already. That's a whole first half.
Hey, we're here it's a match reaction pod, so we're talking about the match. It's a reaction, so we're going to take it bit by bit. But we do get onto it. I know that Ian, you've picked out, but Alan, I'm going to come to you with this one. But I know Ian picked out the 4th goal, the breakaway goal from our own back line as the pick of the day. But for me, this is the pick of the day, not because it's a fantastic goal. It's not because it's an outlandish bit of skill, but just because the person who scored the 6th goal after such a long layoff with 2 massive injuries last season. To come back, get in, and he looked determined to score today as well because he had a couple of chances. The one that Ian talked about, the one with the great save from the keeper to tip it over the bar. I think he had another one where it's come to him and he's had a shot, and then he finally gets his goal. It gets to him through a bit of luck, no doubt, but he's still got to finish it, which he does. And I don't think anyone at Hampden today, including any of the 4 away support that were there, would have begrudged that man scoring today.
No, absolutely not. And Danilo obviously played 45 minutes last week, and he'll have went into the dressing room at half time pretty annoyed with himself probably that he didn't score when he had a couple of good chances. But he's had another week of full training. You know, he's getting stronger. He's going to be getting fitter. He'll be getting some confidence back. And he came on and played. I think it was about 25 minutes he played today. You know. Playing in a team that was flying, you know, playing with confidence, playing with freedom, and certainly got a wee bit of a break with the sort of ball bouncing around after Ross County failed to clear it, and it's just fell for him. You know, he's in the middle of the box on his own, closing in on the keeper, and he's managed to put it past the keeper. And I think probably be the most popular goal scored by Rangers today. Albeit from a football perspective, you know, the first goal and the fourth goal, as we've touched on, were absolutely brilliant team goals. You know, wonderful to watch, and it's great to be able to talk about Rangers scoring goals that you want to watch again and again. But certainly in terms of what it means, you know, on a personal level for supportive players, you know, Danilo's goal was just icing on a very, very good cake today.
Now, you can't accuse us of getting carried away with anything on this podcast at all, but I think we're all Luke Gibson tonight. Clip it up, put it wherever you want. I don't care. But if you're talking about me, you're giving somebody else a rest. So the match finished.
Remember, Ian,
that is
you're
true. That's where the game finished, 6-0. I'd say the only disappointment for me in the game, in the fact that we won 6-0, is that Cole McKinnon and Bailey Rice weren't given a run out when it was a nice, comfortable score. I thought maybe with all the talk of youth and the fact that the game was done, that he might have brought it on. But I think there was a point in the game where you saw Clement when we were, I think it was 5-0 up. It may have been 6, but he was still asking them, I want more. Let's keep going. Don't drop off. So maybe he's a bit conflicted that he might want to give the youth a chance, but he wants to prove a point to a lot of people. So I can kind of understand both sides of it. But that was my disappointment. Just to finish off with the stats of the game, though, then it's obviously just to confirm what the stats were: 17 shots on goal, 9 of which on target, 6 that went in for us. And Ross County only managed another 2 shots in the entirety of the rest of the game. So they got 4 shots, but only the 2 on target remaining from that. We ended on 75.4% in possession and 24.6%. So we increased our domination in that second half, like no end. So let's get on to the individual players, and then we'll finish on Clement's comments because we've got it all loaded up, ready to go. So I'm scared to do it, that's all, because I've never done it before and it'll probably all go wrong.
I can tell you've been putting off.
Yeah. We've talked about Matondo, we've talked about Dessers, we've given Lawrence a talk. Tav today, because like you said, we have given him a fair bit of stick at the start of the season. We have been told he's been coming back from an injury. He played better today. I can only remember one real, for fuck's sake, Tav. And even that was said in jest because you've got to get one every game. But his positioning for today, it wasn't a static position. He wasn't right back constantly or playing that further forward. He seemed to come into the middle of the park as well today, Ian. Did the manager have some sort of... I remember a lot of comments regarding the Ross County midfield are confused because they don't know what's going on. So is this something that the manager's trying to work on, that moving players around?
No, I think you're looking too much into it, Ian. I think we just came up against a very easy opponent. I mean, Tav get pass marks for me. I wouldn't say he was in the top 5 performers of our team, but he certainly get pass marks, you know. But so I think it was you know, has the conversation. I mean, of course, you touched on it earlier. Tav linking up with Cherny will certainly do that little bit of running that Tav used to be able to do for us. So I can see your logic in that. That makes good sense to me, you know. But I've exactly, yeah, good shout. So I mean, you're absolutely right. There was about 100 Tabs in the first 10 minutes, but after that he certainly improved. But then the whole team did, you know. So you know, the jury's still out in Tav whether he can find the form that he resembled, you know, 12 months ago or even a wee bit longer. But to me, he certainly get pass marks without being spectacular. And I've seen a couple of folks say that, you know, Tav was good today. Aye, okay, he was good. I wouldn't say he was great. He was all right. He get pass marks for me. You know, I think we've got to go a wee bit yet for him to kind of even think about getting near to the levels he was at. But let's also remember, to be fair to Tav, and listen, we can't bash Tav forever. Tav's former levels were way above anything in Scottish football on that side of the park. So by his own standards, he's got a mountain to climb, if you know what I mean. But certainly he was decent today, and yeah.
I'm trying to give him, because we've given him some abuse, so I thought we'd try and give him some nice stuff. I'm not saying he was anywhere near the top 5 performers of the day, not at all. But he was all right. He did what he needed to do. He was involved in some of the goals and done what Tav can do today.
I think in fairness, you know, the fact that you're saying he wasn't in the top 5 of performance isn't even a dig at Tav. I think
No,
that was just
no, not at all.
players played. But I'd mentioned earlier that we saw a lot of Tav moving inside, and maybe that's where we see more impact from going forward than simply bombing down the line on the right hand side. Certainly, the players in the team are starting to understand him more, and they're starting to protect him a bit more. And it's not just about protecting James Tavernier because we need to protect James Tavernier. It's a bit the players understanding they need to protect each other and work as a team and defend as a team. And that's another clean sheet domestically. So we're not shitting a lot of goals, and hopefully I'm still saying that in 8 days' time that we're not shitting a lot of goals. We're starting to cut down on the stupid chances we're giving our teams. Granted, we let County in once or twice, and Butlins had to come up with good saves, but we're getting stronger defensively. And a big part of that is the midfield being a bit more rigid, a bit more sort of structured and disciplined, and moving out and protecting the fullbacks, which means there's less coming into the box, which is protecting the centre, overall making us a bit more solid. Was a wee bit maybe concerned that Yefty being a wee bit naive. He's on a booting again. He's got a couple of fouls. Very obvious and less than subtle fouls. They weren't bad fouls. They're just barges in the back. Kind of lazy challenges. And
again, Alan actually thought the booking was a wee bit soft.
I thought it was a wee bit soft as well, but I think it was an accumulation of fouls. I don't think it was a booking for the challenge. I think it was more probably a booking based on the reaction of the county bench, because the county bench were right in front of the referee when the ref blew for the foul. But it's been in the ref's mind probably that he has gave a few fouls away, but he needs to maybe just be a wee bit cuter, a wee bit smarter when he is on a booking, because it wasn't going to be an issue today, but it might be in the future, and that's just something that experience will hopefully bring, and hopefully the coaches will sort of work on them with. But again, very encouraging, albeit we're talking about 6 goals scored, but encouraging, and the manager mentioned it as well, that we're pretty solid at the back and we're getting better.
Right, I can't put this off anymore, and we're going to give it a go and play the manager's post-match. So just bear with me. If this goes wrong, I apologise.
Philippe, is that the most complete performance you've seen from your team this season?
Oh, it's all gone quiet. That's the one I want.
Yeah, a lot of things, because it's about all the details that we've been working on for weeks, for months. So you see a young team, a talented team who get to know each other better and better, and understand all the details better and better, and then you get good results if the efficiency was there in moments. It could have been more also today, but you see much more and more the football we want to play, and with a lot of movement without ball and people being in the right positions. So I'm very glad about that. With, for example, the 2 goals of Cyril, I think it's a big difference with 6 months ago, the way he runs now, how he finds the spaces, what we've been working on, but also with Rabble, for example, who's now in front of goal and is decisive and gives 2 assists. So it's difficult to take 2 players out to give credit towards that, because there are a lot of players making a good evolution last couple of months, and we need to continue in that way and keep this hunger and desire to become better. That's crucial for me.
Yeah, was that relentless approach after you got the first goal, was that what pleased you the most, to keep going for more?
Yes, because that's what I want and what I tell them every time. I'm not satisfied with one result. I want players who always want to do better and not to concede goals also. There's also an important part. So on that side, keeping the 0 is also a very, very important point from today, but playing offensive football, but all the time out of an organization, and that it's clear for everybody. And we need to continue in that way the next week and next months, and then the only way is to grow as a team and as a squad.
Yeah, you touched on Cyril. Another 2 goals today, 5 and 5 for him now. You could see the appreciation he was getting from the fans as well.
Yeah, for sure, and he deserves. He's doing a very good job. This is the best Cyril that I've seen in his career until now, and he's somebody who's hungry to play for this shirt, who's hungry to learn also, to become better. He's not 20 years old anymore, but he stays hungry to learn all the details, and you see in several details he's becoming better and better by doing it and by watching the videos and to talk about it.
And that focus as well throughout defensively to keep the clean sheet too, that must have pleased you.
Yeah, for sure. And Jack made really one important save in the beginning of the game. I don't forget that also. But he's also important in keeping the team sharp and not sloppy in these moments when you're leading. It's easy if it's 2-0 in halftime, then to chill and to relax and to be happy with that. We didn't want that. I didn't want that. I demanded to play, to score more goals and as much as possible to entertain the fans, to give the fans the best we can give them. And like this, you see also that the fans are very happy. And there was a really good atmosphere in the stadium also because of that.
Yeah, and there must be real excitement now for the game next weekend. Is it about taking the momentum from this afternoon into the derby next weekend?
Yes, of course. And I've seen the team growing the last couple of weeks. I spoke about that also. They're showing that on the pitch. Celtic Park will be another challenge, of course, than a home game against Ross County, for sure. So that's the next step to take. And we have the potential with this group to still take a lot of steps in the next couple of months, and that's important. And with a few good signings extra now this week, we will be competitive in every competition that we play, and that's what we want.
Well, there you go. Nothing really untoward in his post-match. Pretty much said everything we've said. Like we've already commented on some of the bits, saying that with Dessers, Ian, that he wished he'd had him when he was younger, like you said. And as I said, when we saw him telling the players that he wants more, that's what he wants every single week. Not enough just to get the points. He wants them to just win games and win decisively. And then he touched on signings, saying that he expects players in the door to make this more competitive.
That was the most important takeaway for me, Ian, was the last comment about expects to see some signings come in the door. That's the bit that was I think if we're all honest and put our hands on our heart, we weren't sure if that was going to be the case or not, you know. So to be fair, I took that as that comment kind of lit me up a bit better than the rest of it. The rest of it, as you said, was no great surprise, other than a little bit of him saying, look, I know these players are talented. I know I can get them working as a cohesive unit. Give me time and it'll get to where it has to get to, you know, which is, to be fair, what he said right from the beginning, you know. And any interviews you've seen with any of the players individually over the last few weeks have all turned around. Even the more experienced campaigners have all turned around and said, no, we feel really confident. We've got a really good group here. They've all said that, especially in pre-season. So I was happy for the manager who got to come out and say a little bit of, well, this is no shock to me. As much as I'm not going to get carried away with 6-0, I'm also, you know, not surprised that it was 6-0. You know what I mean? These players are a talented group of players, as he described them. You know what I mean? Of young players and of a few seasoned campaigners there, you know. Doesn't mean that the next 7 or 8 days isn't really important for us. Of course it is, you know what I mean? So Rabble Matondo, who along with Dessers was the best player on the pitch today, he might not be here this time next week, you know? So that presents its own problem, you know? So whether, and listen, any player in our books, if the price is right, they're essentially, you know, going to be out the door, because that's the nature of our model and the nature of where we are as a football club, any club in Scotland, to be fair. But in all honesty, I'm really happy for the manager today. He got a victory that, you know, he really deserved with all the noise that's been going on around him. So I'm happy for him more than I'm for anyone.
Yeah, and just carrying on with the signings things, obviously we've got a big week coming up, the end of the transfer window, leading into one of our 4 biggest games of the season as always, and it's always good to get that psychological edge in the first game, particularly somewhere out there on his way home from the game today. Wolf is going mental because the manager called it Celtic Park and not Parkhead, because we all know Wolf does not like it if we call it Celtic Park. He's got a busy week ahead of him, both in the getting ready for next week and getting those players in the door, hasn't he, Alan?
That's a very busy week, and it's going to be quite a bit of juggling for a manager to make the changes to his squad and bend people in. And if he's bringing players in, it has to be players now who are going to improve the first 11. So he's going to be bringing players in and then have a decision to make, whether they play or whether they sit on the bench next week on Sunday. So we can't afford to be going and strengthening the squad by bringing players to sit on the bench over next week. It was interesting that the managers touched on bringing more in and out, which kind of flies in the face of what we've been told that we need to sell before we buy.
Yeah.
But I do expect some loan moves this week. No by any stretch am I in the know, but getting to this stage of the window, still looking to make so many changes. Ins and outs, I'd expect to see some loan moves this week, as well as some permanent deals. A lot of chat in the comments about maybe the atmosphere is better and the squad with Cantwell not involved. We're not that's the case, that's only going to be a difference maker if he actually moves on. If he's still kicking about, we can't have people kicking about for the next 4 months that are not contributing and not involved. But it's got to be very, very interesting this week. I'm pretty sure that will be a lot to talk about on the podcast. So it's got to be planned through the week. And no doubt you've got 1 or 2 extras when there's some breaking news. But I think it will be very interesting to see how the manager handles bedding in new players and lift from giving some debuts out next week.
I've got to say, Alan, I've got to say,
today getting some pictures with fans and Rolf included, getting his picture taken with Proper, who he did say he'll be fine for next week. So, I'd very much expect he'll be back in the reckoning.
I've got to say, Alan, I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it, Alan. But I've still not seen anything from Clement that worries me yet. I've got to say, he just seems like a safe pair of hands, goes about his business slowly, and everything he's saying will unfold in time or not. But I've got to say nothing about Clement outside of that whole Todd Cantwell, Hadji standoff thing that it has, which, to be honest, if we're to look at that, Cantwell has had previous on that stuff.
Yeah, listen, I get what you say.
So I've not seen anything from Clement that's made me worry yet. Nothing.
I would say I probably have 1 or 2 concerns about the manager, but largely I'm positive on the manager that we've got. Certainly some team selections and some substitutions, are questionable, I think, and cause for some concern. I do think perhaps some of the handling of some of the players that have been cast aside, we could be smarter. We talked a lot, obviously, on the members pod the other night about, how we devalue our players, by the way we treat them. I do think that could be better, and for a manager with experience, I would want a wee bit better, but I do believe he's more than worth backing. I do believe he's got the character to handle the pressure of the job, and I think some of the players that we look to move on lack that ability to handle the pressure that's put on him as Rangers players. But I think the manager has enough sort of a backbone and confidence and belief in himself that he can handle the pressure of leading a rebuild of Rangers and leading a club with this level of expectation.
I'll chuck this open to both of you. The last thing before we go, there was one point today when the cameras went into the crowd. I say into the crowd, they went into where the players were, and you had Cortez, Proper, Igamane was there, Raskin, who was the 5th one? There was 5 of them up there anyway.
Yeah. But the main two culprits, we know who they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Showing something on his phone and then realised what was going on and started to behave themselves a little bit. But there's 5, Yilmaz being the other one. But those 5 players, all not starting, all injured, all due to come back at varying different levels. Obviously, Yilmaz will be out the longest out of all of those, I'd imagined. But there's 5 players that instantly make your team stronger. And if we're believing what Clement's saying about Igamane in the training, the fact that he's slowly coming up to it, it sounds like he did come in injured because he said rehab when it came to Igamane in his press conference. And he's saying that he's showing things on the ball now that's impressing them. So it looks like he could strengthen the squad as well. With those 5 coming in and any new players we come in, the future does look a little bit brighter than what we actually have in front of us. So it's another stage, and I'll open it up to both of you just to have your opinion before we finish. Getting those 5 players back and putting them back into the team strengthens pretty much every area of the field. And then anyone that Clement can bring in between now and the end of the window and the window slamming shut, because that is a contractual obligation to say slam shut when it comes to the transfer window. Is it me or I know it's a 6-0 win and you're going to go ahead of yourself, but does the future look a lot brighter now than maybe it did a week ago?
Of course it does. I mean, anytime you go and give someone an absolute 6-0 drubbing, life seems a lot better. And I bet the training camp at Auchenhowie next week is a very buoyant place to play to train ahead of the Rangers Celtic game. So absolutely. But going on to your point, Ian, about the guys that are in the stand that that'll obviously make our teams better. I'm not as convinced. I'm not as convinced that Raskin is a better option. And how does that dislodge Barron and Diomande and all that kind of stuff? You know what I mean? We don't know enough about Cortez yet. We don't know enough about Igamane yet. So as much as their options, you know what I mean, and they've certainly been signed and promised, we don't know enough about the players yet. Now, for all 5, well, we know about Yilmaz, and to me, the jury's still out in Yilmaz. An awful lot. He's been here an awful long time, taking an awful big wage and not contributed the amount you would expect his wage to reflect. Yeah. So, to me, I think those guys in the stand, especially Raskin, has got a lot to prove. I think Nico Raskin's got a lot to prove. I know he kind of divides opinion very much, Nico Raskin, but to me, I think that what was on the park today looked an awful lot better than maybe a typical Nico Raskin performance. Hope that's wrong, because I know there's a lot of guys that like him out there, but I've just not seen enough of him to be convinced that he's any better than what we have at the minute. I would love to be proven wrong on that. But as far as scope and strength in the squad, of course, it's good to have some experienced, promising guys in the sidelines. Absolutely,
Do you think we might see the best out of Raskin with more mobility around a bit in midfield than Connor Barron and Diomande, and then options like Cortez, a more experienced Ross McCausland, Czerny, and possibly a more confident Rabble Matondo, making better runs and making more space? I think that might just fire up Nico Raskin, and he's going to have to raise his game to get in the team. And if he has his game to get in their team, then that will make us stronger.
But I hope so.
It certainly isn't as bad football-wise as probably we've all made out. We are massively reactive, as Rangers fans, because that's what we do. That's how we've grown up, and that's how we'll always be. But if we clean out the squad a wee bit over the next week and move on to people that are not contributing and just make it a sort of tighter knit, more productive group, I think we'll be in a good place. And
just to add to that, Alan, just to make
anything again next week.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the ones that we are left with, the important man management part of the manager, about how he includes them in the group again.
Absolutely. If people are going to be staying, then they need to be involved. They need to be contributing, and they need to be putting their shoulder to the wheel, so that we can count on it. Granted, not everybody will be able to make it into the European squad, for example, but with the European games, we are going to have to rely on a squad of players. There's we're not going to be able to run 11 players into the ground. You know, we need to be having options and rotating, be it from a bench or be it the starting lineup. So we need guys there that will contribute and gaining experience.
The only reason I bring that comment up is if you've seen the way that Chelsea sign players, there's still a chance.
Oh, listen, Ian, he can go to Chelsea. He won't be playing football though, but he can certainly visit Chelsea.
He can go to Chelsea. He can join the queue for dinner with a $455,000 player.
Yeah.
So we will leave it there. I mean, that last one was just to open up a bit of discussion to see how it goes. I certainly don't think those 5 players coming into the squad weakens the team. If you've got players like that on the bench, at least the drop in standard coming off the bench isn't diminished greatly. Whereas we have seen that recently over games as well. So we have gone over the hour mark. Martin will be pulling his hair out. He's going to have to pay more overtime. So we will leave it there for tonight. We do have, obviously, a big week coming up. There will possibly be breaking news pods coming out as well, if as and when players come in and leave, for that matter. And then there'll be the usual shows on the Monday, the Wednesday show for the member show. I'm reliably informed that it will be a Wednesday this week and that we won't be changing it last minute. But man flu is a serious issue which we need to take serious. So if you've got man flu, we're definitely going to cancel shows for you. Also, let me point you in the direction of the Rangers Rabble website as well. Make sure you go there because you can get mugs like this, the t-shirts that we've all been wearing recently, different variations, hoodies and hats and all sorts. There's loads of stuff there. Just go and have a little look. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and retweet and like on Facebook and go and visit TikTok. Don't forget we're on TikTok now as well. Martin's doing a splendid job on TikTok and getting the people to see the views. So you can see us anywhere and everywhere on social media. And with that, I will say goodbye. And last thing to do is to thank Ian and Alan for being here. Thank you very much, gents. It's been an absolute pleasure. And with that, we will move on and get ready for a hell of a week that's coming up. So stick with us and we will see you all next time.